All right, you're joining us now in the GameSpot breakout area with Nate Langson, who is CNET's technology expert, and he's brought in a 64GB iPod Touch version 3. Now, this is being pitched by Apple much more as a gaming device. They're saying that, it's competing with the PSP and the DS, and we've found through tests and installing some software on it that it's actually much faster than this one, which is the second-gen version.
That's right, yeah. I mean, Apple's saying it's up to 50% faster, and certainly we can't confirm it's exactly 50%, but playing with it now, it looks a lot faster. So, I mean, we've got Simcity on here. This is EA's version of Simcity for the iPhone and iPod Touch. And sort of we've zoomed into quite a big city here. And when you move the cityscape around, you can see that on mine, the frame rate is much higher. Your older one is struggling, really, when we're moving it around quite quickly. And this is obviously much better for handling these sort of really CPU intensive games that Apple's starting to find creeping into its store.
So one of my qualms about using the iPod Touch, at least this one, as a gaming device, is that it tends to drain the battery, it gets quite hot, the device, and it's slow. Have all of those been eradicated on this version?
Not that we've noticed particularly, no. The biggest thing is the increase in speed. Battery life, we're still testing, so we can't really confirm that yet. But in terms of it as a gaming system, it's the one that is most suitable for gaming to date. Sure. Even on the iPhone 3G, playing this particular game is a pain, so much that I don't even have it on there anymore. On this, it's like playing it on the Nintendo DS. It's a very similar version, in fact. It's much better. But the thing is, still, even now, it's not quite powerful enough to be rendering, say, the city while you move it, so that the buildings you can see are disappearing away, just the grids that they were in stay there, so you know whereabouts you're moving to, and then when you release your finger they come back. So it's still not quite that sort of power where it can render all these in real time. That's still probably for the fourth gen maybe.
Right. And so the other big thing on the third gen is the fact that they've expanded the internal memory to 64GB.
That's right, yep.
Which is, that's going to set you back £300. Not cheap?
It's not cheap, but it's twice what you could get before. So before, you could have 32 gig, which you were sharing with music and apps. Now, you can still have that 32 gig for music, but you've got another 32 gig for apps. Some of these games, I mean, Doom Resurrection, which we've been looking at as well, is 100 meg almost in itself. So you're going to get through memory quite easily. Yeah, they're still selling it in 8GB and 32GB variations, and you'll fill it up quite quickly with games at 8GB. But 64 is, I mean, it far surpasses what's available on the PSP Go, for example. Yeah, it does. It's several times bigger, in fact. And I mean, the only difference here is that this isn't expandable. So on the PSP Go, you can put a memory stick in and increase that memory. On this, you are limited, and you are sharing it with things like podcasts and videos and movies and all that kind of stuff. But still, 64 gigs, one of the biggest on the market. There is no larger out there. And it's certainly a hell of a lot faster for gaming. Is there anything else that we should know about the latest version of the iPod? What's your general feeling about it? It's one of the best iPods yet. It's certainly the best iPod Touch. £300 is still quite expensive, but in terms of getting a games console that can play games pretty well, and as a movie rental device, and it's an iPod and so on and so forth, and all the other apps you get, I mean, Google Earth as well, is a fantastic app, and there's almost 100,000 apps available out there, so it's a great all-rounder, really. A good proportion of which are games. That's been really popular for them. Definitely. On that subject, do you have anything, you're playing this a lot, do you have any kind of tips? You mentioned Doom there. I mentioned Doom. Doom's a great game. I've got that on here, but I have to say the game I play the most, sad as it sounds, is Scrabble, which plays fine on my iPhone. So I'm not even taking advantage of the fact that this thing's sitting on my desk and able to play things about 10 million times faster than my phone. But there's some really great games coming up soon. There's some first-person shooters coming out which look absolutely amazing. Great stuff. Well, I guess the conclusion is that the iPod Touch third generation, and I think the iPhone 3GS as well, do make fairly good games devices. That's it. The 3GS is arguably just as good as this. So if you want a phone in this, get the 3GS. If you don't want a phone, then I'll get this, I guess. Great stuff. All right, that's the iPod Touch third generation that we've been testing. It's a 64GB model, which will set you back about £300.